Welcome, one and all, to Stoniecast number 70. That's right, you're locked into thoughts and hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches with your boy Stony back for the 70th time. And I would like to welcome all of my favorite lowlifes, hustlers, scumbags, cheats, hoodlums, foul-mouthed, raging alcoholics, fienders, and degenerates. That's right, you're all back for the 70th time. You know why? Because I keep winning. It's all I do. I deliver W's right into your bank account every single week. Case in point, last week. 15-6. How you like them numbers? Yes. Absolutely ridiculous. 14-6 in the NCAA. 1-0 in the NFL. That moves us up to 20-7 overall on the season, a blistering 74.07% head start. You can't beat that. Again, I challenge anybody anywhere in the world to give 27 picks and hit 20 of them this early in the season. 74%. You're welcome. I'll take my 10% now, which I never get. But that's neither here nor there. For those of you that are new to the show, I want to welcome you because I know we got new listeners. I know we got new subscribers. If you're a new listener, make sure to click that little button down there in the bottom right-hand corner, the plus button to subscribe. That way, every single time that I post a new video, you'll get notified. You don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to search for it. You'll be told exactly when Stoney's getting loose. Last week, what can I say? It was an up and down Saturday in college football. I was kind of hovering around the 500 mark, and then something happened. Ohio State hammered Oregon, and I had Oregon. That was my last loss. I haven't lost since then, right? I then went on to hit the final 3 games that I had on Saturday night, including the Degenerate Special, which made me 2-0 on Degenerate Specials already, for those of you counting, because I know I am. Then I hit Sunday night. Then I hit Monday night. Then I hit last night, Thursday night, by just giving you the Bills on a silver platter, who physically assaulted the LA Rams, the defending champs, Aaron Donald and Matt Stafford. Please, the worst Super Bowl champion of the modern era. Last night, they showed why. Offensive line is soft like butter, and the Bills went in there into their cozy home digs in La La Land and beat up Matt Stafford, knocked him down 15 times, sacked him 7 times, picked him 4 times. Just an absolute bloodbath. That shit, it was 10-10 at halftime. If you weren't doubling up on betting in-game live by taking them in the second half, I don't know what you were thinking, because the Bills just came out like they were just ready to kill. So anyway, that got me to 15-6 for the week, right? Yeah, 15-6, 71%. So we're at 74% now on the season, 20-7, like I said. Just a blistering start. So let's get right to it. Let's not screw around. Let's move on. Tomorrow, Saturday, NCAA football, noon Eastern time, Hard Rock Stadium, down in Miami. No, not South Beach. This is Miami Gardens. But anyway, the Canes, 1-0, -26, taking on the Southern Miss Eagles. The Canes, I mean, you know, what can you say? Last week, they hung 70 points in a scrimmage against Bethune-Cookman. Some people got excited, Donnie, after posting 70 in a walkthrough, because that's what it was. It wasn't even, I don't even think they jogged, let alone run. Jalen Rooster Knighton is now back in the backfield for Miami, and all that does is just create more drama in a very loaded backfield. The Canes are going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball a lot. Now, with Knighton back in the fold, Tyler Van Dyke, the quarterback, who's good but not great, doesn't have to throw the ball a lot, right? And especially here against Southern Miss. Southern Miss lost in 4 overtimes to Liberty last week. They're 0-1. The big talking point here of the week has been Frank Gore Jr., right? Everybody remembers Frank Gore, famous Cane, Hall of Fame Cane, Hall of Fame NFL 49er. Yeah, Frank Gore. Well, his son, Frank Gore Jr., was recruited by Miami, but was never offered by Miami, so he settled at Southern Miss, where he's been putting up numbers. He's actually been putting up really good numbers. He's got a homecoming this week. The problem with Southern Miss is they only attempted 15 passes last week, and that's not going to work. The last 26 games they've played, they're 6-20. They're in trouble here. Yeah, they're getting 26 points. It's a big number, but I see the Canes scoring early, often, and rolling. Take the Canes, lay the 26. Noon Eastern time at the Little Apple in Manhattan. Kansas State is 1-0. They're 7.5-point chalk against Missouri. K-State and Missouri, this was a big-time rivalry. I mean, it's kind of a border war, and it's their first matchup since 2011, ever since they switched conferences. Well, K-State knocked out South Dakota State 34-0 last week. Deuce Vaughn, the Deuce, when he gets loose, is the man. He's the All-American. Him and Bijan Robinson from Texas are the two best backs in the league to start, or in all of college football to start the season. And in order for Missouri to even hang with K-State in this one, they're going to have to slow down the Deuce. Well, Missouri's coming off a 52-24 win over La Tech. They were up 38-10 after 3, and they just cruised from there. Missouri has enough weapons to stay in this one and keep it close. I don't think they can go into the Little Apple and win, but I do think they can cover the 7.5. I'm going to take the Tigers plus 7.5. Noon Eastern time, Evanston, Illinois, Duke and Northwestern. Northwestern's coming off a 31-28 win over Nebraska back in week 0. That was that game that was played in Ireland where they came from 2 touchdowns, or they came from down 10 twice to win that game. Running and defense, that's what Pat Fitzgerald does. His defense creates turnovers, which is what they did against Nebraska and how they got the win. Duke, on the other hand, went out and just steamrolled Temple. Thanks. I had Temple in that one. That was one of my 7 losses this year. Well, Duke went out and beat them 30-0. But this week, I think they're just going to, Northwestern is going to slow things down, because it's what they do. They're going to slow things down all the way down to a crawl. So in this game, I like the under. The number's 58.5. I'm going to take Duke Northwestern under 58.5. Noon Eastern time, right down the street here, Music City, USA, Smashville, Tennessee. I don't even remember the last time there was a good game that was going to be played in Music City. Well, you got 2-0 Vanderbilt. Yes, I said that correctly. And no, I'm not reading that wrong. Vandy is 2-0, and they're 12.5-point dogs against 23rd ranked 1-0 Wake Forest. Now, Vandy, their 2 wins. Yeah, their 2 wins. Hawaii and Elon. Not exactly Alabama and Georgia, who they'll face later on this season. But, yeah, it's, it's what Vandy is now, right? If they're going to win games out of conference, they've got to play Hawaii and Elon, right? Now, this is another out-of-conference game where Wake comes in, a very dangerous team, a team that won 11 games last season. They did win last week 44-10 over Virginia Military Institute. Yeah, VMI. They're, top 5 team. Yeah, right. Well, Sam Hartman's back. That's the story in this one. Sam Hartman, the quarterback from Wake, is finally back. He put up big numbers last season. He's kind of a dark horse this year for Heisman votes. 4,200 yards last year, 39 touchdowns. He had a monster season for Wake, and This is his first game back. He's finally healthy. He's ready to go, and he's up against a Vandy team that's just not ready for him. Give me Wake, lay the 12.5 on the road. I know it kills me to do it, but I'm all about that cash. So take Wake, lay the 12.5. Noon Eastern time, Fayetteville, Arkansas. The 16th ranked Hogs are 8.5-point chalk against South Carolina. South Carolina 35-14 win over Georgia State last week. Shane Beamer, their head coach, yes, that Beamer, right, son of Frank Beamer. You can tell he's a Beamer, because what was Frank Beamer known for at Virginia Tech? Beamer ball, right? Special teams, blocked kicks, kickoff returns, punt returns, fake field goals, all that shit on special teams. Well, last week against Georgia State, 2 blocked punts for touchdowns for South Carolina. They did it well, right? They were 7-6 last season, right? And wound up beating North Carolina in the Duke Mayo Bowl. They finished off a very good season. Now they've got Spencer Rattler, the transfer from Oklahoma. He's their quarterback. He struggled last week, but doesn't matter. 35-14, a win's a win, and you'll take that. Well, now you're heading to Fayetteville, and it's this is your first SEC matchup of the season, Gamecocks, and you're facing an Arkansas team that just beat Cincinnati last week, 31-24. And keep in mind, don't forget, Cincinnati was a team that played in the college football playoff last year. KJ Jefferson, the quarterback for Arkansas, is just, I mean, man, the guy's electric. He can run, he can throw, he can do it all. Three touchdown passes last week, 1 touchdown rushing. He has a very talented backfield led by Raheem Sanders back there. So Arkansas does it the right way. They run the ball to set up the pass, and South Carolina is overmatched here. Arkansas, lay the 8.5, take the Hogs. Noon Eastern time, Austin, Texas. This is, I guess, one of the marquee matchups, you would call it. This game's on Fox. Alabama comes in, number 1 ranked Alabama, 20.5-point favorites over Texas. Bama is coming off a 55-0 win over Utah State. Okay, nothing new there. Bryce Young, the defending Heisman Trophy winner, he has weapons at his disposal. All-American linebacker Will Anderson, man, you want to talk about a surefire top 10 NFL draft pick, and you like watching linebackers that can play. Watch Will Anderson. This guy is really special. Well, they come into Texas, into Austin, to take on a Texas team in Steve Sarkisian's second year in Austin. Keep in mind, he was offensive coordinator for 4 years for Nick Saban, under Nick Saban at Alabama, and the two are actually very friendly. Not next season, in 2 seasons, Texas will be heading to the SEC, so this will start to become a rivalry, and you'll start to see that more often. Well, they were 5-7 last season in Stark's first year, and they did get an impressive win, 52-10 last week over Louisiana Monroe. And Quinn Ewers is how it's pronounced. Quinn Ewers, the 19-year-old kid from Ohio State who left Ohio State, transferred to Texas. They gave him the starting job, see something in him, and Sark is good with quarterbacks, and the results are there. He has Bijan Robinson next to him. Like I said, Bijan Robinson and Deuce Vaughn are the 2 best backs in FBS right now. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how whether or not he can run with Will Anderson chasing him down. And Alabama's typically stout front 4 or front 7, slowing him down. because if Texas is going to have any chance in this game at all, Bijan Robinson has to play well, because they can't expect 19-year-old Quinn Ewers just to go out there and throw all over Alabama's defense. But I think that he'll do enough and Robinson will do enough. And the fact that there is a good relationship between Saban and Sark, and Saban's not going to hang 70 on Sark, right? He might hang 50 on him or 40 on him, but I'm going to take the horns here, plus 20 and a half. A lot of people say you can't make money betting against Nick Saban. That's true. Well, we're going to find out. I'm taking the horns, plus 20 and a half. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, South Bend, Indiana, NBC game. 8th-ranked Notre Dame, after a loss last week, they're 0-1. They're 20.5-point favorites over Marshall, who's 1-0. First time these two have ever met. Marshall comes in on the heels of a 55-3 win over Norfolk State. This is their first year in the Sun Belt Conference after playing all their years in Conference USA. Running back Rasheen Ali, right? He left the team. He has a leave of absence, which was kind of unexplained. He led the nation in touchdowns last season, and without him, it's going to be a long season for the Thundering Herd. They're not exactly thundering. And Notre Dame, on the other hand, yes, they lost to Ohio State 21-10, but Ohio State was a massive favorite. Notre Dame stayed with them. They covered. They held them down. Marcus Freeman, that was his first game officially as the head coach, even though he was the head coach in the bowl game last year where they blew a huge lead. But this is his first home game now at Notre Dame. So expect quarterback Tyler Buckner to get things going for the Irish. I like the Irish here. Usually big numbers like that, the Irish don't really cover, but I'm going to take them and I'm going to lay the 20.5 over Marshall. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time at formerly the Ketchup Bottle. Now it's Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. We got ourselves a good one here. Number 24 Tennessee comes in 6-point favorites over 17th ranked Pitt. They're both 1-0. Pitt got a big-time win last week, 38-31 in the backyard brawl over West Virginia. Pitt did beat Tennessee last year in Knoxville, 41-34. Keaton Slovis is their quarterback, the USC transfer, and they're going to have to score a lot because right now Tennessee's offense is way up here, and whatever Josh Heupel is infusing into this offense, it's working. 59-10 win over Ball State last week. Hendon Hooker, not exactly a household name, but the guy is steadily improving, and he is absolutely perfect for Josh Heupel's up-tempo, high-speed offense. He has plenty of weapons at his disposal, and this offense just keeps going. I don't know if Pitt can keep up with him. I don't think they can. I'm going to take the Vols and lay the 6. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Madtown, Wisconsin, Camp Randall Stadium, Wisconsin, 10th ranked Wisconsin, 17.5-point favorites over Washington State. Both teams are 1-0. Wisconsin, a methodical 38-0 whitewash of Illinois State last week. Running back Braylon Allen last year, 1,200 yards rushing. Last week, 148. He's only a sophomore. This guy could break a lot of records at Wisconsin for a Paul Chryst team who does nothing but run the ball well. Coming into the season, he was worried about his defense, and they go out there and pitch a shutout in their first game. But Illinois State did move the ball up and down on him. If not for Wisconsin creating turnovers, it wouldn't have been close, but, at least the Redbirds would have gotten on the board. Washington State, on the other hand, they're coming off of an ugly 24-17 win over Idaho. Quarterback Cameron Ward was a transfer from Incarnate Ward, where he put Incarnate Word. He put up big numbers for the FCS school. and now he's playing the big time up in Washington State. He's up in the Palouse. Well, he has a running back right now, the Wisconsin transfer, Nakia Watson. This guy right here, right? He left when Wisconsin brought in Braylon Allen because Watson knew that his touches were going to go down. Well, he's a transfer. He had 3 touchdowns last week. He's going to have a big influence in this game, and playing in Wisconsin, you better believe he's going to want to show out. Now, I'm not saying Washington State wins this game, not by a long shot, but I'm going to take the Cougs plus 17.5. It's the smart thing to do. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Kinnick Stadium, Iowa City. Iowa City. In between the third and the fourth quarter, let's wave to the Children's Hospital. Love it. That's like the greatest tradition in college sports right now. Anyway, Iowa minus 3.5 versus Iowa State. Great rivalry here. Both teams are 1-0. Iowa State comes in after a 42-10 win over Southeast Missouri State. Matt Campbell, the head coach at Iowa State, has never beaten Iowa, which is odd in the 6 years he's been there. Quarterback Hunter Deckers, he's constantly improving, and Iowa State is a dangerous team. Thus, the 3.5-point number. Well, the 3.5-point number might have something to do with the fact Iowa's coming off of a 7-3 win over South Dakota State, in which they didn't even score a touchdown. They got 2 safeties and a field goal. So their defense outscored their offense 4-3 in a 7-3 snoozer. Well, quarterback Spencer Petras, Iowa's quarterback, he's now in his 3rd year as a signal caller, and he struggled. He didn't look good. He looked out of sync. And Junior Alex Padilla is waiting to take his job. So Kirk Ferentz has some thinking to do. But right now, as much as I like Matt Campbell, I like Kirk Ferentz better. I'm going to take the Hawkeyes, lay the 3.5 at home. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Berkeley, California. Yeah, Berkeley. Yeah, what a cesspool. The cesspool of Berkeley. Cal is 12.5-point favorites over UNLV. Both teams are 1-0. Cal's coming off of a 35-13 win over the University of California, Al Davis. Yeah, that's right. I said Al Davis. Quarterback Jack Plummer for Cal isn't bad, but he isn't good. Cal's defense isn't good. UNLV hasn't been good the last 2 years, but the end of last season, they kind of started to figure things out. They're coming off of a big 55-21 blowout of Idaho State in their first game. Quarterback Doug Brumfield threw 4 touchdowns in that game in the first 3 quarters. He sat in the 4th quarter. So I'm going to take the Running Rebels here. I'm going to take the 12.5. I just don't think Cal's good enough to beat anybody by 12.5. So give me the Rebs plus 12.5. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Lubbock, Texas is the site. Good matchup here in what will be a conference matchup very shortly when Houston moves to the Big 12. Texas Tech is 3.5-point favorites at home against Houston. Houston comes in ranked 25th. Both teams are 1-0. Texas Tech got a 63-10 win over Murray State. Quarterback Tyler Shuck is out right now, so Donovan Smith takes over, and he did pretty well last week. Although Texas Tech still runs the football a lot, they don't throw the ball. Long gone are the days of Mike Leach. Well, Houston, on the other hand, had to fight and claw and scratch to get a 37-35 win over Texas San Antonio in 3 overtimes. I had Texas San Antonio, got the cover. In 2 years, they'll be moving to the Big 12, so this will definitely become a rivalry. But it's Clayton Tune right now. Clayton Tune is the man. In Houston, Dana Holgerson has created a culture to go along with Kelvin Sampson's culture as Houston's basketball coach, and all of a sudden Houston has become a legit power. Well, Clayton Tune, this quarterback, he's somebody you got to watch. He will be on an NFL roster very soon. Don't know if he'll be starting or if he'll be on the bench, but I do know he's going to get drafted. He's too good not to. I like Houston plus the 3.5. You want to take a flyer and take them on the money line? That wouldn't suck. It's not a bad play, but give me the Cougs plus 3.5. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Night game at the Swamp. You gotta love this. Saturdays in the South. SEC matchup. Kentucky versus Florida. Both teams come in 1-0. Both teams come in ranked. Florida's 12th. Kentucky's 20th. Florida is coming in off of a very impressive win over 7th-ranked Utah last week, 29-26 in what turned out to be Billy Napier's first game as the commander of the Gators. He pushed all the right buttons and got everything right. Well, then again, it always helps when you have a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, who is Cam Newton 2.0, the Cam Newton that was in Auburn. That's the one we're talking about, not this, fashion disaster that we've been seeing the last 10 years. But, yeah, think about the Cam Newton at Auburn. This is Anthony Richardson. This is what he does. He single-handedly beat Utah, and Utah played well. That's one of my 7 losses. Utah played well enough to win that game, but they didn't because Anthony Richardson was just that good. Kentucky, on the other hand, they got some problems. Anthony Richardson, their leading running back, he's out because of DUI. Their top linebacker's out because he was part of the DUI. So Mark Stoops has suspended them both. He's not letting them back to play yet. So that means Kentucky's going to have to throw more. Well, that helps because Will Levis is their quarterback, and he is the man. Last year, Kentucky finally beat Florida after I'm not exactly sure how long it was, but I think it was 15, 16 years since they'd beaten Florida. Well, they did. They beat them in Lexington last year. Now they're trying to make it 2 straight. They're coming off a 37-13 win over Miami of Ohio, where Will Levis just lit them up. And this is a good matchup between 2 very good quarterbacks, and these 2 quarterbacks will both be drafted in the NFL. Some might tell you that Levis is better than Richardson. Richardson's more athletic and has the gifts and the tools, but Will Levis is one hell of a pocket passer with a rocket arm. I like Kentucky here, and that's rare because normally I tend to. Sorry. Oh, anyway, normally I just got a message and I was trying to figure that one out. But normally I lean towards the Gators, not here. I'm going to take the Cats plus 6. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State versus Arizona State. Both teams are 1-0. Okie State is 11.5-point favorites. At home, Arizona State's coming off a 40-3 win over Northern Arizona. Remember Emory Jones? He was the starting quarterback at Florida last year. Well, he transferred out and landed at Arizona State. So he's running the offense now. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, they had a 58-44 win over Central Michigan. I had Central Michigan winner. They gave up way too many points. It's not an Oklahoma State team. They were so stout defensively last year, but they really struggled keeping Central Michigan down. So Oklahoma State here, I like them. I'm going to take them. Spencer Sanders, their quarterback is just stupid good. Take Oklahoma State, lay the 11.5. Moving on, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Palo Alto, California. Stanford, USC. Both teams are 1-0. USC comes in ranked 10th. They're 8.5-point chalk. I'm going to take USC here. They're coming off a blowout win over Rice in Lincoln Riley's first game. Caleb Williams came over with them. Stanford is coming off 41-10 win over Colgate. David Shaw knows he's going to have to run the ball because they haven't been able to run the ball lately. And I just, when the number was at 10, I was leaning towards Stanford, but now the number's dropped down to 8. USC's the pick. Take the Trojans. 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, Provo, Utah. This game's on ESPN. This is probably the best matchup of the day. Number 9 Baylor versus number 21 BYU. Both teams are 1-0. Baylor is coming off a 69-10 bloodbath of Albany. Jaron Hall, right, versus Blake Shapen right now. That's their quarterback. That's the quarterback matchup here, and you have two inexperienced quarterbacks who are both steadily improving. BYU got a 50-21 win over South Florida. Next year, BYU will be in the Big 12, so this will be kind of a annual thing. And Baylor beat BYU last year, beat them pretty badly. So BYU wants a measure of revenge. Now, I just read 2 minutes before I was going to start recording here that BYU lost their top two receivers, but I don't care. The number's 2.5. I'm going to take BYU and lay the 2.5 against Baylor. Moving on. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Fresno, California. Oregon State, Fresno State. Both teams won last week. Fresno hung 35 on Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Oregon State hung 34 on Boise, and their defense forced five turnovers. I like the over here. I think with the heat and the humidity, both teams are going to be up and down the field. 61.5 is the number. Take the over. 11 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. Degenerate special. Tucson, Arizona. Fox Sports 1 has it. Mississippi State versus Arizona. At Arizona. This game's in Tucson. Mississippi State comes in with a 49-23 win over Memphis last week. Will Rogers, their quarterback, is just another Mike Leach find who runs that air raid offense. 450 yards and 5 touchdowns last week. Mike Leach knows Arizona. Jason DeLora, the quarterback now for Arizona, who Arizona won last week. They beat San Diego State, which was a shocker, 38-20. Jaden DeLora is their quarterback. He transferred from Washington State, where he was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year at Washington State. Transferred to Arizona. I still don't understand why, but he looked good in week 1. Well, he committed to Washington State when Mike Leach was at Washington State. So Leach knows DeLora. He recruited him, and he knows DeLora. I'm going to take Mike Leach here. I'm going to lay the 10.5 on the road. Those are your 18 college football plays for Saturday. NFL, ready? Here we go. Week 1, NFL Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, down in Hotlanta. Saints, -5.5 at the Falcons. We got to go quick, because what's going to happen is every single week, or especially this week, on Monday, it's going to be the overreaction day of all overreaction days, where everybody freaks out after one game, right? A lot of moving parts, faces change, so I'm just going to give you the names that have changed. Falcons, Marcus Mariota, he's their starting quarterback. He's got Kyle Pitts and not much else. They don't run the ball well. They have a soft defense. The Saints, on the other hand, right? They've won 4 straight in Atlanta, in Hot Town. That's not easy to do. Nobody does that. But famous Jameis is their quarterback, and all he has to do is just not turn the ball over, because the Saints defense will do the rest. Give me the Saints. Lay the 5.5. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Paycor Stadium in the Queen City of Cincinnati. Bengals 6.5-point favorites over the Steelers. You know the story. The Bengals, Super Bowl losers. They're going to have that Super Bowl hangover. The losers of the Super Bowl typically don't do well the following season. They have won 3 straight over Pitt, which is a big-time surprise. And they're healthy. The Steelers, on the other hand, last year their defense allowed 23 points per game. Since 1970, only 1988 was the year that they allowed more points than they did last season. So expect their defense to be better this year. Mitch Trubisky's the new face at quarterback until Kenny Pickett eventually takes the reins. Their rookie quarterback, but expect to see a steady dose of Najee Harris. I like the Steelers. Give me the Steelers plus 6.5. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Soldier Field in Chicago. You got the Bears and the Niners. The Niners come in 6.5-point favorites. Justin Fields last year, 1,800 yards passing, 400 yards rushing. Their offensive line is a complete disaster. Their defense isn't very good. They don't run the ball very well. Well, Fields does, but that's about it. On the flip side, the 49ers have the big debut of Trey Lance, and we'll see how that goes. A lot of people don't think he can do it because nobody's seen him do it because he hasn't played very much. Well, he has a questionable and shaky offensive line, but he has one of the best defenses in the business. And they are going to get after Fields, and they're going to chase him down. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and company are going to come after him, and it's going to be an ugly, ugly nightmare for Fields. Give me the 49ers to win easily, minus the 6.5. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Ford Field in Detroit. Eagles, 4.5-point favorites over the Lions. The Eagles are the trendy pick this year. Everybody likes the Eagles. Jalen Hurts now has more weapons. He's got a talented defense. The Lions' defense is getting better. DeAndre Swift is their feature back. Jared Goff is Jared Goff. I like the Lions at home here, plus 4.5, because everybody else likes the Eagles. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Hard Rock Stadium down in Miami. Fins, 3.5-point favorites over the Pats. Tua Tagovailoa now has a shiny toy in Tyreek Hill. The Pats, on the other hand, are just the same old Pats. Mac Jones is going to run the ball. They're going to have a very good defense, but the Fins are much better. Hence the 3.5-point number. That hook scares me, but I'm gonna lay them anyway because the Fins beat the Pats twice last year, and they're much better already this year. Give me the Fins. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Yes, the Ravens, 6.5-point favorites over the New Jersey Jets. The Jets, Joe Flacco's now their quarterback. Zach Wilson's out. So Flacco in a revenge game it's not a revenge game. Nobody knows Joe Flacco better than John Harbaugh, where Joe Flacco won John Harbaugh a Super Bowl. The Ravens, on the other hand, are loaded. They are healthy. They are absolutely loaded. Their defense is loaded. Their backfield is loaded. And even with today's news of them not signing Lamar Jackson long-term, doesn't matter. This game is going to be ugly. Ravens cruise. Lay the 6.5. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, FedEx Field in our nation's capital in D.C. Give me the Commanders. Yeah, they're called the Commanders. The Washington football team, the Redskins. Give me them minus 2.5 against the Jags, just because if you're watching that game, you ought to be assassinated. So nobody's going to watch that game. Nobody cares about that game, but I'm forced to make a pick, so I'm going to take Washington, minus 2.5. Browns versus Panthers, Bank of America Stadium, 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Charlotte. The Panthers are 1.5-point favorites. We all know the story here. This is the Baker Mayfield revenge game against the Cleveland Browns team that let him go in favor of Deshaun Watson, who's got an 11-game suspension. So can Carolina, with a healthy McCaffrey behind him, can Baker Mayfield move the offense? I say no. Cleveland's still better. Cleveland runs the hell out of the ball. Jacoby Brissett, as long as he doesn't throw 3 interceptions, they're going to win this game. Why? Because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are just going to run all over Carolina's defense, which isn't very good and has actually gotten worse than what it was last year. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Energy Stadium down in Houston, the Big H town. Colts and Texans. Colts are 7.5-point favorites. Matt Ryan is the new face as the quarterback in Indianapolis for a trendy pick of the Colts to not only win the AFC South, but to do some damage into the playoffs with Jonathan Taylor leading the way as their feature back. Well, the Texans, on the other hand, they got an improved defense. Davis Mills got better as the season ran on last season. He's got Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins to throw to. I like the Texans. This is a big number here. I don't think the Colts are going to lose, but I don't think they're going to cover the 7. So give me the Texans. Moving on, 4:25 afternoon, afternoon games on Sunday. Right down the road here, Music City, USA, Nissan Stadium. Titans, 5.5-point favorites over the New Jersey Giants. Danny Dimes? Yeah, Danny Dimes, please. Has anyone ever seen that guy throw a dime? No. Saquon Barkley's going to get the bulk of the carries, just like Travis Henry. Derrick Henry, King Henry, is going to get the bulk of the carries for the Titans. Tannehill had a horrible playoff game, and he's out to get some fans back in Music City, and the best way to do that is to give the ball to Derrick Henry or pass the ball to pass the ball downfield to one of his wide receivers, which he lost, right? Because they just lost their best running back, or their best wide receiver, right? A.J. Brown is gone. Derek Landry's out. So this game might be tighter than most expect, but I just can't in good conscience take the Giants on the road. I'm going to take the Titans, lay the 5.5. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. You got the Packers and the Vikings. The Packers come in 1.5-point favorites. Aaron Rodgers is 7-7 in Stoniapolis. Think about that. He's 7-7. Devontae's gone. David Bakhtiari's out, protecting his blind side. The Vikings, on the other hand, are coming with Cousins, Cook, Justin Jefferson. They're all healthy, right? A good defense, and head coach Kevin O'Connell's first game, he'd go a long way to knocking out the Pack. I'm going to take the Vikings on the money line and the spread, plus 1.5. Vikings win. 4:25 Eastern Time, State Farm Stadium. That's what it's called now. Glendale, Arizona. Chiefs, 6.5-point favorites over the Cardinals. The Chiefs have a history of starting slow. They don't run the ball. I'm sorry what anybody says, right? You give me all the Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon stories you want, but their entire offense revolves around the right arm of Pat Mahomes. Well, Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill, right? He still has Travis Kelce, and they added some weapons to go along, but it still ain't the same. And the Chiefs are known for starting slow. The Cardinals, on the other hand, are known for starting fast, right? The Cardinals come in, Kyler Murray, James Conner is going to be their workhorse running back. Marquise Brown, A.J. Green, plenty of weapons for Kyler to take the top off the Chiefs' defense. I think he's gonna. Cards might win this game and surprise some people, but I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to take them plus 6. But don't be surprised if they do win. 4:25 Eastern Time, SoFi Stadium in La La Land. Chargers versus Raiders. Chargers 3.5-point favorites. The Raiders come in now with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams and Darren Waller, and no running game, and no defense, and high hopes in Las Vegas. But their defense, man. Justin Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Ouch. And this game doesn't mean anything. That's why the Chargers are the pick. If it meant something, you would take the Raiders, just like how the Raiders beat the Chargers in the final game of the season last year to get into the playoffs and knock the Chargers out. This game doesn't mean anything. It's week 1. So take the Chargers. Lay the 3.5. Sunday night, Cowboys and Bucks in Jerry World down in Dallas. The Bucks come in 2.5-point favorites. Tom Brady's off season, the divorce with Giselle, Chris Godwin, his top wide receivers out, which means Mike Evans, the aging Mike Evans, is going to have to step up. Leonard Fournette, who didn't have a good season last year, is going to have to run the ball well. It's still Tom Brady, I know, but these are the Cowboys, and this game doesn't mean anything. When it means something to the Cowboys, they'll lose it too, just like the Chargers do. Well, this game doesn't mean anything, so I like the Cowboys here, plus 2.5. I think Dak's going to throw the ball downfield. CeeDee Lamb. Two good defenses, but I like the boys, plus 2.5. Monday night, final game of the week, Broncos Seahawks, Lumen Field up in the Pacific Northwest. Broncos 6.5-point favorites. The story here is the return of Russell Wilson back to Seattle. He's now the starting quarterback in Denver. Seattle's a mess. Geno Smith is their starting quarterback. Yeah, he's got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Keep an eye on Kenneth Walker III, the running back from Michigan State. He's going to get a lot of carries this year, and he could turn in to be a really good back his first couple of years before he flames out like all running backs do in the NFL. Broncos, on the other hand, Russell now comes in, right? He's got a solid backfield behind him that can run the ball. He's got Jerry Jeudy and the emerging Cortland Sutton to throw the ball downfield to, and he's got a very good defense. I like Denver. I like Denver in this one easily. Sorry, Slick, but I'm going with Denver -6.5. And last but not least, I looked ahead and I got an early line for next Thursday's game. So next Thursday is a great game, Chiefs versus Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium. Right now that number is listed as Chiefs as a 3-point favorite, but all that's going to change depending on what happens this weekend. Well, if you want to jump ahead and get on that early, I like the Chiefs -3 over the Chargers because I think the Chiefs are going to struggle this week against the Cardinals. And I think they're going to come back at home at Arrowhead and win big. The Chargers, I think, are going to win this week over the Raiders, and then they'll come back down to earth by losing in Arrowhead next week. So there's my pick for next week, the first pick of next week. So when I come to you on Friday night, that way you'll have one pick already in the books. So that's it. 15 NFL plays for this week, right? And I'm already 1-0. Keep that in mind. I'm already 1-0 this week. Thank you, Buffalo last night. Plus the one game last week. 18 NCAA. 34 total picks, right? That's just, that's great. I love it. 19 wins at the very minimum. 20 wins, 21, 22. The higher we get into the 20s, that's where we can really do some damage. So in the meantime, take your money out, put it down, go to the window. Remember, if you want to win big, you got to bet big. Scared money don't make money. To me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.